Yeah, Tom Hart, live out in the county but have property and business in Grants Pass. The other day, I came to the forum the other day, and one of the things that struck me was that Mr. Kippick was asked what the person that was performing the consultation thought as far as what it would affect business negatively and if any of them may cease to exist. He said they really didn't know. And the other day, on Saturday, I walked from G to I on the various side streets and counted 16 vacancies. There was one that just was a 20-year business that just closed last week. And it's been, for a lot of businesses downtown, a struggle for the last 10 years or so. And this is just simply something that is going to obviously negatively affect a lot of businesses. It's not the amount of the tax, it's the perception of the tax. Most of my customers, not most of them, but a lot of them do come from Jacksonville, Medford, California. And I know a lot of those would just bypass Grants Pass because they perceive, well, gee, why should I shop at a town that charges me a sales tax that's going to penalize me for shopping there? So I appreciate what you're doing. I was a little, I wish that the task force, or there might have been 2 or 3 different task forces to look at different options rather than just simply one option. I think it'd be nice to have more than one choice on the ballot. But anyway, hopefully you'll do the right thing and we won't lose any more businesses downtown.
Thank you. Yes, in the very corner. Sorry, Rika.
Which button?
You don't know buttons anymore.
Okay. Rob Pell, I live in Grants Pass, I have a business here, a couple of properties here. I want to make one more clarification on something Jay said earlier, is that on the makeup of the task force, there was one more member. The fellow who owns Elegance was talked about as being a retailer, but my understanding is more than half of his business, being beer and wine, is also exempt. So everyone on the task force at one level or another was exempt. And the guy who's got the jet boat business, he's got no real competing business in Medford that he has to worry about. There are no jet boats in Medford. So really, no one on the task force is really substantially impacted by this, just to be clear. I'd also, for anybody, and maybe Aaron Kubrick or others, I mean, Tom Hart, who just spoke, I mean, his family's had a business here for 50 years. Okay, I've had a business for 20 years. I spoke this morning with Norm Jesse, who's had a business here since 1955. Okay, these are the people who actually know what it is to sell retail around here. The Chamber of Commerce people also know this. And these are the experts. I don't see anyone on the council who really has any retail experience. No big deal, you just don't have it. You have other areas of expertise. Okay, you should be asking and listening carefully to what the people who have the expertise. And what those people say is people around here are very, very price conscious. There is no maybe about it. We heard it from the guy with the gold also. I've had people who leave my store because I don't have a manufacturer's coupon for $1 or $2. They're going to go somewhere else. Now, I've had probably 500,000 transactions in my store in the last 12 years or so. I'm on the floor a lot of the time. I have a lot of experience with it. Okay. I don't really believe that the council has really heard, certainly not from the task force, they didn't hear from people like that. You know, we heard from Jay how many people come into the city every day, but getting back to, I think, where Lily might have been going, was that, you know, I'd like to know how many Costco members there are in Josephine County. I'd like to know how many people in GP or in Josephine County work in Medford and leave every day. I'd like to know how many people from Josephine County go to Jackson County once or twice a month. In other words, how many people could buy in Jackson County without spending one more penny in gas money? How many of those? Because I know it's human nature. If people are already there, they will buy 3 or 4 or 5 more things if they're already there and it's tax-free. And like Tom Hart said, and Norm Jesse this morning said, it's a matter of perception. We'll be a taxed island In a tax-free state, it is a huge gamble. You're gambling with my income, you're gambling with my house, you're gambling with my ability to send my grandkids to college. Would any of you gamble your own retirement, your own house, or your own lifestyle? Because if you wouldn't, having me gamble with mine would be unconscionable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Tony Webb from Grants Pass. I was born in Grants Pass, and I never thought I would live to see the day when the City Council would be discussing a sales tax and making Grants Pass the first city in Oregon to have a sales tax. I attended most of the meetings of the task force, and Colleen Martin and Rob Pell were right. There actually was no one on the task force that was really completely affected by the sales tax, and they've explained why. I read the consultant's report line by line. I don't think anyone on the task force got the consultant's report. And, you know, I crunched the numbers. A part of it was in Excel, and I crunched it and sorted it in different ways, and I came up with maybe 1,200 businesses that will be affected by this and pay the sales tax. And based on that, the sales tax would need to be at least 4% to bring in the $8 million revenue. And at the 1.75, you might get 3.5 million. So if that does turn out, because Jay Meredith said several times at a couple of the meetings that if in the first year or two the revenue wasn't 8 million that they expected, that they will go back to the voters and ask for an increase. Well, what will happen if the voters say no to an increase? And, you know, Jay also talked about the business owners who will get the property tax relief. But from what I can tell, because I grew up here, I bought my first piece of jewelry at Tom Hart's father's store when I was probably about 13 years old. Most of the businesses here in town don't own their property. They rent or lease at this point. So also one thing, there are many, many things, and I hope I prepared a 4-page document for you. I hope you all got it. One of the things that, there's many, many things that they're not telling the people about this, but one of them is that the businesses will be subject to an audit at any time, just like the transient room tax, and there'll be penalties for all sorts of infractions. So several people have gotten up here and talked about an alternative, and so I'd like to say that there is an alternative to this, and that would be to consider a public safety district. The Grants Pass residents have shown that they will pay for public safety, and I think that you could put that on the ballot in May 2016, and I've told Dan DeYoung that I would help pass that because I think the residents would pass that. And so I encourage you all to vote no on a very bad idea of a sales tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Tell us your name, please.
My name is Ben Pearson. Just something to consider. We sell building materials. A lot of our competition, some of our main competition is in the county. A lot of distributors in Medford currently deliver to Grants Pass, would love to have additional market share here. Given the fact that a lot of our customers would be opposed to paying the sales tax, we may not even get a chance to bid for that business. Or building material margins are very slim, and 2% would be enough to cause us to lose some of that business. So I would hope you would consider that as part of the decision.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, in the back row.
Pamela Hackett, Grants Pass resident. I agree with the one of the previous speakers that there was not much notice about this consideration. I was totally unaware of it. And I consider myself pretty well knowledgeable about what's going on in the city, but I was not aware of this tax. So therefore, I think this should be delayed, a clear decision. And on top of that, I think it's an injustice. I thought it was an injustice when the county constantly, and I'm not sure about the city, but I pay city taxes. I live in the city. But I thought it was unfair that the property owners were constantly always being asked to fund public safety. I didn't think that was fair. It was an injustice. And I don't think it's fair that businesses should be asked exclusively. And I know people, they will pay a small tax if they purchase items, but the previous speaker had said something that resonated with me. You have the ability to change the culture of Oregon, of Grants Pass. And I just sat at the dinner table with one of my children and his 4 children, my son and his wife. They're thinking about moving. I have 6 children, and they all want to get away. I mean, all of them didn't move here, but the opportunities here are eroding. And you're going to put another nail in the coffin with this sales tax. You would change the culture. It would be great if this area, or if this city had the reputation of being supportive of business instead of anti-business. People are moving out of California to Texas, out of Oregon to Texas. It's a business-friendly community. We don't want our families to move away and the culture to be altered here. That's why we moved here. So when you consider this sales tax, I hope you realize the gravity of the decision that you might make that would alter the future of Grants Pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. In the back.
Cliff Thomason, City of Grants Pass. I would ask that the council hold off on voting on something like this today until an opportunity for them to poll the people could be done. I know time is of the essence for this to get on the November ballot, but taking a few days, which a poll could be done with a professional service for a few $1,000s, would really give you a better idea of how the public feels about that. To say that they have supported public safety and through the ballot language, through the countywide levies, is justification enough to put it forward, misses the point that at no point did the county put out a sales tax as an option. The businesses that are affected by this are greater than what I think the council recognizes. We have a little sampling here and through the meetings that have gone on, but the perception as being the only city in the state and perhaps in the nation in sales tax states, I think would be hurtful to the business community over time. You know, we're just barely coming out, and for most, still not coming out of a recession over the last 8 or 9 years. And to put this on businesses in our community without first polling the community, I think is a mistake. So I'd ask that instead of voting on whether to put this on the ballot or not, I would ask you to vote of whether or not to take a scientific poll over the next week, spending a few $1,000s, and really getting a better idea of whether or not you should. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Sue Fahey, Grants Pass. I don't know whether it's a good idea or not. It's the best idea we have. Lots of other things have been tried. Nothing's going to be perfect. I applaud you for taking the time to look into it. My feeling on it is we have an opportunity to try something, to put it on the ballot. That's our poll. Our poll is put it on the ballot, let people decide and vote on it. Some people will come out ahead. Some people will pay a little bit more. But for me, when I went to Yachats for the weekend. They have a 5% tax. I bought my coffee and my lunch and paid the tax. People don't like change, and anytime there's a change that is going to happen, and they see that, oh, this is a big scary thing is going to happen and change, it changes, they adapt. 6 months to a year later, it's like, what was I complaining about? It's not going to we're talking pennies here for most people who come in and buy things. Yes, businesses will have to adjust. Yes, they will have to adjust how they do business. I don't think it's going to make a substantial change in how people spend their money or where they go. It's just going to become part of the way things are. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kathy Swenson, and I'm relatively new in this area. The one thing I notice the whole time I've been here, there's been some kind of discussion over passing a levy to cover the law enforcement here. And one thing I notice in the paper, there's constant pictures of people who've committed crimes and apparently are getting away with it. And no matter, I've lived in California and just came from Arizona, Prescott, and we had a 7.5% sales tax. And I don't know why people in this area don't figure they have to pay for their services, the basic needs of a city. And I think if people felt safer, and I just think that we have to pay for our services. Nobody wants to pay more increased property taxes, but nothing is free. Thank you.
Thank you.